Hey TPT sellers, it's Mike Pichigami. I'm the host of the SEOTpreneur YouTube community. In today's episode, I'm going to walk you through how to use your web browser to figure out the search volume for TPT search terms for free, completely free. You don't need to use Google Sheets. You don't need to pay for a Google Chrome extension. You don't need to pay for a third-party service. You just have to use Google Chrome and know where to look. And if you know where to look, you can figure out how often that search term has been looked up on TPT for the last 30 days. Kind of cool, right? We do this because we're looking for niche unicorns. A niche unicorn is a higher traffic volume keyword, so more people are looking for this keyword, but it also has fewer competition. And niche unicorns really depend on your stage of the game. If you have hundreds of reviews, a niche unicorn for you will look very different from a niche unicorn for me, where I'm just starting out with a new product and maybe I have no reviews on it. And that's part of the beauty of TPT. There's place for everyone to grow. And I firmly believe that knowledge is power and that a rising tide lifts all boats in the harbor. This episode is for TPT hamsters and TPT hawks. If you're a TPT tadpole, a big part of the game is just learning the game. Figuring out how to make product covers, figuring out how to make product descriptions, figuring out if teachers want what you make. I'm a full-time TPT seller, and I'm very thankful because I have a lot of time to devote to my TPT business. But the flip side is, if you're a full-time teacher right now and you do TPT as a side hustle, you have a huge unfair advantage over me, which is that you're in the classroom. And if you sell the resources that you need, then you know other teachers like you are going to need what you use. Whereas it's been 6 years since I've been in the classroom, so the stuff that I think might be important may not be what other teachers are looking for. And I think the longer you are outside of the classroom, unless you're in those Facebook groups, just being a fly on the wall and seeing what teachers are talking about, it's very easy for TPT sellers like myself to get disconnected, and then we make awesome resources that nobody needs. So if you're full-time in the classroom and you're watching this right now, awesome. Work at your own pace, and just remember your advantage is that you get to test your resources with your students and then revise your resources before it even gets published. I think TPT tadpoles are at that game of just playing and figuring out how the platform works. But if you're a TPT hamster or a TPT hawk, then a big part of our game is figuring out how to optimize our resources to get in front of the most eyeballs as possible. I was wrong. So when I first started digging into this Algolia stuff, I thought that popularity rank and search volume were two different numbers that were hiding on the TPT website. When in fact, I now realize that popularity rank is actually search volume, which means there's a group of TPT sellers out there who think there's a popularity rank and a search volume as two separate metrics. And I know this because I've heard that phrase popularity rank. And I've also heard of other TPT sellers talk about how some third-party tools report popularity rank and search volume. But in fact, what I thought was search volume is not actually search volume. I'm sharing this with you right now because I believe my why is to help make the world a better place. Right now, I do that by helping TPT sellers, and a good chunk of TPT sellers are teachers. And so if I can help build the critical thinking muscles and the active citizenship muscles in TPT sellers, then I'm indirectly helping to transfer those skills to students. I think part of being an active TPT seller is to have courageous conversations when you hear information that doesn't fit with your view of the world, to try to make the community a little bit better and to raise the bar for everyone. And I think one of the most important things that we need to do is to challenge assumptions. Sometimes people in authority will say the sky is green, and because they have a position of authority, we don't challenge it because we don't have time to think critically about everything. So we say, yep, well, if that person is saying the sky is green and they are an expert, or they've been around forever, or they have the loudest voice, or they have a YouTube channel and they seem to sound smart, then the sky must be green. And of course, if we look up at the sky ourselves, we might see that the sky is blue. The sky might be gray, the sky might be pink, depending on what time you see it. So in this video, I'm going to show you where the search volume is hiding on the TPT website, and then you can look for it yourself. I think that transparency will help you to have more informed conversations when a TPT tool says, hey, the search volume is 360,000. You can go look it up and double check it yourself, as opposed to simply trusting me and saying, well, I made this Google Sheet and I'm saying that the popularity is 550, you can go check to see that the popularity rank is indeed 550. And this comes down to looking at primary sources of information. The question that I get asked often by TPT sellers is, well, how did you make a spreadsheet that gets traffic data or popularity data that most TPT sellers don't seem to have? And there are a couple of third-party options that do this. And I think it would be great if Team TPT just published this information for all TPT sellers in a way, so then that way we don't need third-party tools. Like if I go to SEOTpreneur.com and I click on TPT seller tools, and if I scroll down, here are some TPT seller tools that I've made. And this one here, this TPT seller tool that is available as a sneak peek in the pro community, shows the search popularity score for different keywords, and it aggregates and pulls in the competition and generates ideas from ChatGPT. So am I worried that TPT might publish search popularity for everyone? No, I think that's awesome, because even if they do that, there's still opportunity for third-party tools to come up with something better or something different. And that's the whole part of innovation. And even though things might look similar on the surface, the innovation could be behind the scenes, what's going on, or who the product is for. I'm a big fan of transparency and I'm a big fan of innovation, and I'm not worried in the least if TPT publishes popularity rank. In episode 39, I talked about how TPT could do it. They could show the popularity rank for TPT sellers. If you flip on a switch on the back end, maybe you're able to see the popularity score for different keywords. And at the time, in episode 39, when I made that video, I thought the popularity score was a ranking, whereas the highest numbers were the most searched terms, and the lowest ranking words were the least searched terms. And at the time when I looked at it, I thought that the exact hits was more like the search volume, because I saw numbers like 76,162. And it seemed weird that you could have a search volume of only 2,531 for escape room. Escape room's gotta be a popular keyword, right? 2,531 people searching for that in the last month. Well, that's like 100 a day. And TPT is a website hit by millions of people. So just the number seemed too small. But in preparing for this episode, I was looking at the developer manual, and I now realize that what I used to think was a popularity rank and what I used to think was search volume is actually incorrect. And today I'm going to talk about how that popularity score is actually search volume. And the number of hits that shows up in the code, that's actually referring to the number of resources for that keyword. But I think there might be some tools out there that calls exact hits search volume. I don't know. I'm going to show you how to look up those numbers so that when a tool says, oh, the search volume is this, you can go look to see what the popularity score is and see if you agree or disagree. In this video, I'm going to walk us through what the developer manual says about search volume. And then we're going to look at SEMRUSH data to see how popular the TPT website is. And finally, we'll finish with a bounty that I'm offering on Facebook. This is my Sunday series. For the past 10 weeks, we've been looking at a different part of the developer manual for TPT search. TPT uses a company named Algolia to power their search engine, and Algolia has a metric in the data called popularity. So these query suggestions help users search by showing a list of popular searches as search suggestions as they type. And the goal is so that users type less and avoid suggestions that don't return any results. So when I read that, I think, okay, on TPT, when it auto-suggests some keywords, those keywords probably get clicked on more. There's probably a positive cycle where, oh, it shows up more and then it gets clicked, and then it shows up more and then it gets clicked because it shows up more, and those keywords probably cycle upwards. When it says it helps avoid searches that don't return any results, this is why, to me, sometimes when you search for a phrase on TPT, it doesn't show up in the keyword suggestions, and then the third-party keyword tools can't pull up any ranking data, and that's by design. Maybe there aren't enough resources about that, or maybe that query is so niche, the algorithm is excluding that search phrase from the query suggestion tool. It says in the manual, users often interact with query suggestions in an autocomplete menu. And of course, we see that on Teachers Pay Teachers. So if I click at the top here, I have the auto suggestion showing me the most popular search terms on TPT for the last 30 days. And if I start to type back to school, the autocomplete will suggest keyword phrases that I might be interested in. And I'm probably interested in these because the algorithm knows, okay, in the last 30 days, these are the most popular phrases that started with the phrase back to school. So I'm just going to delete that. But what I'm going to do right now is show you how to find the search volume hiding on the website. So I'm going to right click on the website and I'm going to click on something called, and that's going to open up a side panel, which are developer tools. Now at the top here, I'm inspecting the HTML code, which is under elements. Let's just make that a little bit wider. And then I'm going to go Control-Shift+ to zoom in a little bit. I don't actually want the elements. I'm going to click on these two arrows to open up some more tabs, and I'm going to click on network. Now, this is some advanced stuff, and this is why I didn't teach it initially right away. But I think some of us are technical enough that you'll be able to follow the instructions or pause the video to be able to try this yourself. A website is constantly communicating with other parts of the internet to load information, but we often don't pay attention to this. What we're going to do right now is we're going to pay attention to see what information it pulls up as we type back to school. So I'm going to start to type back to school. And then on the right-hand side, I'm going to scroll down to the very bottom, and there's going to be something that says queries, ? Algolia. So I'm going to click on that. Now on the right-hand side, I'm going to click on this gear. I'm going to hide the overview just so I have more real estate here. And then I'm going to close this gear again. And of these options, I want to make sure I'm in the response option. And now if I click on this bottom scrolly bar, I can scroll to the right and left. And I see some words like query. And on the right-hand side, there's a scrolly bar up and down. So I can go up and down. And I can now see, I'm just going to go Control- to zoom out a bit. I can see here it says popularity 12,143. It says query back to school. And then up here it says exact NB hits, exact number of hits. And it says 1,371,376. Back in the day, when I first looked at these numbers, I thought popularity, well, 12,143 is too small for back to school being a search term. It can't be 12,143 times. So then I thought, oh, it's probably this exact number of hits. 1,371 searches sounds more realistic for what teachers are looking for back to school right now. But then this week I was preparing for this video and I found in the Algolia search manual where it defined what this popularity number means. According to the Algolia index schema, if I scroll down, look right here, it says popularity. And if I highlight this, popularity is the number of searches for this suggestion in the last 30 days. And if I scroll down and highlight exact NB hits, that's the number of search results for this suggestion. So when you're inspecting the website and looking at the developer tools yourself, query is the word that you typed in, like back to school. Popularity is the number of searches for this suggestion in the last 30 days, so the last month. And then exact NB hits is the number of search results in the database for that keyword suggestion. So for me, one of the key pieces of information here is it's in the last 30 days. And I know from reading more of the manual that this is a rolling window of the last 30 days. So query suggestions are stored as an Algolia index, which means all the stuff that we talked about before with typos and word matches and using rules to promote or pull down resources, that all applies to the query suggestion search as well. The manual says that the query suggestions, that index is rebuilt every day. So I'm going to guess once a day, the system goes through and it finds the most frequent searches for the search analytics of the TPT database. So it looks at all the searches people have done and it figures out which search phrases were looked for the most. And then it normalizes the data and it removes some entries that might be duplicates of another. So if I type back to school and I make a mistake typing it, it doesn't show incorrect spellings. It just shows back to school spelled correctly. There might be a requirement that in order to show up in the auto suggest, there might be a minimum number of TPT products that have to be present for that term. So that's one of the things Team TPT can do. And then of course, I'm sure they have a list of banned expressions. And I'm sure those are swear words. But it also makes me wonder if there are spam search phrases that block certain spammy products from showing up on the front. Now it's interesting. They could ban intellectual property keywords. So if they wanted to completely block Olympics, for example, they could set it as a banned expression here, I think, and then that would prevent Olympics from showing up as a suggested keyword phrase. Now, I'm not an expert at this. I'm just wondering based on what I see in the manual. It also says as it's rebuilding the auto suggest database once a day, that query suggestions also deduplicate similar searches, keeping only the most frequently searched terms as suggestions. So this is why some of us are looking for some search key phrases, and we don't think of it as being niche, but the algorithm thinks it's niche because, oh, this is just a duplicate of another shorter key phrase. So then once a day, this query suggestion autocomplete database looks at all the searches that were made in the last 30 days, and it says, oh, okay, so people searching for back to school, we're just going to count up all the times people search up back to school. And then if there are similar searches like back to school misspelled, then those get aggregated together. And it's also possible for them to use external analytics like Google Analytics and add that to the suggestions popularity. One time I did see that in effect. I don't have a screenshot, but I remember going into TPT search and I saw the phrase teachers pay teachers being searched for. No one's going to go to TPT to search up teachers pay teachers. And what I realized is it's probably pulling up information from Google Analytics. It was probably an A/B test. They were testing auto-suggestion with Google Analytics key phrases and auto-suggestion without, and then decided based on, I don't know, click-through rate or conversions and solds, which search algorithm worked better, and then stuck with that. Now, I think that popularity number, they're applying a calculation to that to simplify and sort. And it says here they can use rules to adjust the suggestions based on conditions. For example, they can promote or hide specific suggestions. They can change the user's query. They can use synonyms to suggest similar search terms in the auto-suggest. But I'm really stumped on how that popularity number that we see in the code reflects the number of searches for the last 30 days. And so if I go to this back to school example, it says here, the popularity for the back to school search phrase is 12,143 in the last 30 days. So 12,143 divided by 30 means roughly 400 searches a day for back to school. And that just seems too small for a website that has millions of visitors. So keep watching. I need your help to figure out what this number actually means. Have you learned something new? If you have, can you please like the video? Because that helps the YouTube algorithm show this video to other TPT sellers who haven't found our community yet. And it encourages me to continue making this Sunday series. Thank you to everyone in the past who's ever liked one of my videos. You're helping to fuel the fire, which is a movement to help make TPT land a little bit better for everybody. Now let's look at some SEMRUSH data to get a sense of how popular TPT is, so we can figure out what that popularity number actually measures. So SEMRUSH is a third-party marketing tool, not just for TPT, but basically for the entire internet. They purchase clickstream data from your internet service provider. Every time you connect to the internet, your ISP knows what website you go to. It aggregates that information. It removes your name and replaces you with this anonymous ID. You might be user number 1, user number 2, user number 3, and it aggregates and sells this data to large marketing companies that can afford it, like SEMRUSH. And then SEMRUSH looks at the big data and it figures out patterns like, oh, user 1 went to TPT, bought this resource, and downloaded it. Or user 2 went to this website, logged into Google, and did this in Google Docs. And then SEMRUSH is able to come up with statistical models and figure out how people use the internet. According to SEMRUSH, TPT had 12.4 million visits in July. There were around 5 million unique visitors who were making those 12.4 million visits. Now, anyone can put large font numbers on a screen. Part of the game is being able to look at the numbers ourselves. So I'm going to show you how to find these numbers if you have a paid SEMRUSH account. Here I am on SEMRUSH looking at teachers pay teachers in the traffic analytics section. This is worldwide data for July 2024. I can see there are 12.6 million visits. 83% of people use a desktop computer. 16% of people use mobile phone. There are 4.9 million visitors. I don't know how many people are purchasing. In order for me to unlock that, I'd have to pay $1,000. It's becoming bigger, and we generate more income from AdSense. That might be interesting to see, because then we can comment on whether the platform is getting bigger or smaller. But at this level, I can see that the average person visits 6 pages per visit. So remember, there's 12.6 million visits, and each of those visits, there's around 6 pages that get visited. during that visit. The average visit duration is 11 minutes. People who don't bounce away right away are looking at TPT for things that they need. They're reading our product descriptions, they're searching on TPT, they're looking for our resources. So the question immediately I think about is, how do we stop the scroll? How do we make our resource very attractive? Because you know from a previous episode that attractiveness re-ranks the top 20 or the top 100 search results based on how many clicks your search result is getting or how many conversion events there are. People looking at the preview or adding to wish lists or adding to cart. Those are probably the conversion events. I can see here the bounce rate for TPT is 37%. So that basically means if 100 people visit TPT, 37 people bounce away right away. They go to Google, they go elsewhere. Okay. That it had 4.9 million visitors. Well, let's just get a sense of the pattern here. To trend for all devices, we're looking at data monthly. Let's look at unique visitors. So in July, 4.9 million people visited. In June, estimated 5.6 million people. In May, 6.6 million people. In April, 6.9 million people. You get the idea. And the light blue is the estimated statistical variation around this dark blue line. There's around 5 million people using TPT per month. So then if we go back to that search popularity number, if 5 million people used TPT in July and the number is 12,143, it seems too small to me that it was 12,143 people searching for back to school, only 400 people per day. So I think TPT is taking the number of searches and doing something to that number before they come up with the popularity. And this is where I need your help. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What do you think the popularity of 100 searches per month really means? If we saw a popularity of 100 in the code and you have 5 million people visiting the website and using the website, and we know from the manual that popularity score represents searches per month in the last 30 days, then does a popularity score of 100 mean 100 searches per month or 1,000 searches per month, 10,000 searches per month? Does it mean 100,000 searches per month? The statistician in me thinks it probably represents thousands of visits because that's a nice, easy round number. I mean, it could be millions of visits, but 100 million searches made by 5 million people doesn't sound right. So now I'm curious, what's the smallest popularity score that we can find for a keyword on TPT? I'm turning this into a little bit of a game, a little bit of a challenge. I'm offering a $10 TPT gift card as a bounty on Facebook. This is different from the $100 gift card challenge, which is a random draw. Your chances of winning that are better than you think. Go to facebook.com/group/TPT-SEO, find the post that looks like this cover, and basically if you play this SEO game that I made and you post your scorecard, one TPT seller is going to win a $100 TPT gift card, and they can use that to buy something in the classroom if they're still teaching right now, or they could buy clip art or fonts, or they could repurpose it and buy 10 $10 TPT gift cards to give away to their teacher audience. When you go to the TPT SEO and Data Secrets by SEOTpreneur Facebook group, if you scroll down, it's right here in the featured section, and you can read more information about that contest. There are only 16 people who left comments, which means your chances of winning a $100 TPT gift card seem pretty good. What I'm talking about right now is not a contest, it's a bounty. A bounty is a reward. So recently, I did an email bounty with the SEOTpreneur email community. And last week I had a video about product rating and does it impact TPT SEO? And at the time, I thought you only need a 3-star average rating to show up in TPT search because I thought that maybe they were filtering results below 3 stars from showing up. But I'm just one person. It's easier if a whole community helps out to try to look for information. So I asked in the video, prove me wrong, and I asked people in the email community, find a TPT product with less than 3 stars in search and reply to that email. So that was a bounty for the email community, and the winner, who I'll announce in the email community, and the winning entry, who only won by a couple of minutes, they found that when you search for the key phrase run and you set it for high school and free resources only, there's a 2-star resource on the first page, and there's 2,000 results in this search term. So if I click on run here, I can see it's filtering for high school. It's showing only 3 resources. And if I scroll to the bottom, here's a resource that only has 2 stars. So this person proves This person proved that actually it's not blocking results lower than 3 stars because they were able to find a 2-star result. So make sure you sign up for the email community. If you go to SEOTpreneur.com and click on email at the top, you can join our email community there, and you can join our email community there. Not a lot of people entered the email bounty, so I thought I would try something different and offer this bounty on Facebook. So I'm giving away a $10 TPT gift card to the person who can find the keyword with the lowest popularity rank, upload a screenshot of it into Facebook. So the screenshot here in the wanted poster, I can see the popularity rank for this is 1814 for back to school math. And in the bottom right hand corner, there's a timestamp because we know that the popularity rank changes on a daily basis. So I'm going to try this right now. I'm going to go to search. And you know what? I just want to see the search volume for these terms. So I'm going to right click inspect. It opens up this side panel. At the top, I'm going to click on these 2 arrows to get some more options. I'm going to choose network. And then once it's loaded up the network, you know what? I'm going to open up the search and I'm going to type all about me. And as I type, I can see the inspection panel just fills up as the website's contacting different places. Now, in this panel, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. I'm going to choose the last query that has Algolia in it. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to make sure I'm in this response tab. I'm in full screen mode, so I'm actually going to hit F11 to get out of full screen mode. I can see the date again. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. I'm going to click on that queries with Algolia. I'm going to click on response. I'm just going to zoom out because I'm zoomed in so much. So let's zoom out to a regular screen. I'm going to go Control- to zoom out here. And if I scroll up and down, I can see here's a popularity of 7668. Let's scroll down. Here's a population of 2309 for All About Me worksheets. Let's scroll down. Here's a popularity of 1002 for All About Me bag. Let's scroll down. Here's a popularity of 805 for the All About Me poster key phrase. If I go down, there's probably one more. Here's a popularity 766 for All About Me craft. If I keep on going, then I start to get into other things like the store name. We're looking for keyword phrases. So I think the lowest one that I could find was this one here, All About Me craft, with a popularity rank of 766. And I have a date down here in the bottom corner. So I'm just going to hit the print screen button on my computer, literally on my keyboard. And then I just need to highlight, as long as it says popularity, the query, and the date in the bottom, I'm just going to select all that. It's copied it for me. I'm going to go to Facebook. And if I scroll down, here's the wanted poster. I found, what was the popularity? Here, let's paste it in here. Control-V to paste it in. Oh, I found a popularity of 766 with All About Me craft. All right, so let's write that in here. I found 766 a popularity. I found a popularity of 766 for All About Me craft, and I put August 18th, 2024, and I'm going to hit submit. Now, obviously, if you're part of the team, like Enrica can't enter, for example, right? I can't enter, and a couple other people can't enter, but everyone else, that would count as their entry. And if I click on this screenshot, I can see it has a popularity of 766, and I can see the date in the bottom, August 18th. Now, this is not a random draw. If you can find a popularity rank lower than 766, that person wins until they get beat by somebody else who found an even lower popularity rank. Because I'm curious, can you get a popularity rank of 10? Is there a keyword with a popularity rank of 1? So that's the great part about being part of a community. We can work together to answer these questions. And then that helps raise the game for everyone. All About Me craft, only 766 people looking for it in the last 30 days. That just seems too low to me. But 766,000, I don't know, that seems too much, right? This is why I kind of wanted to see what keywords had what popularity rank. I don't know. You know how these things are. We're just tinkering around and figuring stuff out. If you learned something new today, or you're excited by the kinds of stuff that we're doing here, please hit subscribe. It's exciting to watch the channel grow and the community get bigger. And as our community gets bigger, the YouTube ad revenue gets bigger, which means I can give away more TPT gift cards to you. All right, have a fantastic week. I'll see you next Sunday. Bye-bye now.